Welcome. Today is our lecture for our week 3 in advanced clothing construction. The rest of this class, you may be utilizing your sewing and pattern making textbooks, but most of the work came out of those books last week, and this week you're really just fine-tuning any fit and concentrating on making your garment out of your fashion fabric. To get your attendance, remember to log on and watch the lecture summary or the recorded version of it. Yours is the recorded version, and that'll be on shortly here the Monday afternoon. Write a short 150-word or 2-paragraph summary of the lecture and submit that on My Course Connection by Tuesday night, and take part in the forum discussion by Friday. I'm sorry, I've got Wednesday and Friday on there. I think those were some of our latter times. Actually, it may be Wednesday and Friday because I think I wanted some input or chance of giving some input and feedback while you are working on your garments. So actually, do take a look at that on Wednesday and then Friday. All right, the biggest focus this week is completing your dress design in your fashion fabric. You hopefully have already done your muslin. I've seen one of them. It's fantastic. I can't wait to see it out of your fashion fabric. And then there's a little bit on the advanced sewing techniques of dealing with a chiffon or a sheer type of fabric. You handle the seams a little bit differently, and especially the hem usually. So there's some links there for some support resources on those techniques. But with your completing the dress, here are the other assignments during the week. You know you've got a lecture summary and a discussion forum. That should be, we'll put Wednesday and Friday for the forum. Your sewing steps for your dress design. Since you were did this once by putting together your muslin over this last weekend, you have a pretty good idea of what you need to do to complete it. So finalize that. That is due on Wednesday. And completing a cost sheet for your dress design by Wednesday. So you've got your pattern pieces done. You're going to need to lay them out and figure out exactly how much yardage you're going to need. You'll need that to be able to go to the fabric store and get what you need. I tend to usually buy just a little bit extra or round it up whenever I'm buying my fabric. Just in case it might be 58 inches wide instead of 60, and I might have to shift some things a little bit. But then for your cost sheet, that's also due Wednesday, you'll need to record the actual amount of fabric you used. So let's say you liked some fabric and you said, I'm going to buy 3 yards. But let's say your dress only used 2 3/8 of a yard. Well, that's what you record. What you actually used was 2 3/8 of a yard, not the 3 yards you bought. But you will need to record the cost of what it rang up as. It's okay if, let's say, you got some discount on that or bought it at a sale, go ahead and put that as the price you paid for it. If you needed to get zippers, record the cost of the zipper. I know your costs are actually retail, but if you were making this dress for someone and it cost you that to go to the fabric store and purchase these things, you want to make sure you are covered. And I just put together a table. I'm getting ready to post it on My Course Connection. It'll be over in the area where the cost sheet forms are, but it'll be a table that'll give you an idea of how much to plug in your cost sheet for figuring up the labor costs for sewing the dress, labor costs for cutting, marking. The overhead cost is just figured at $1.50 a garment. But you can take a look at that. Same with labels and poly bags. That's for covering the items. Things like that. Hopefully you recall from apparel production class how to fill out the cost sheet. I'm going to go over to that class and look at any resources I might be able to go ahead and move over to your apparel production. That way, if over to advanced construction. Because if apparel production isn't still a current class that you're enrolled in that you can go look, I'll bring those over so that you can see some of that and get a little refresher on what you're filling out for the cost sheet. And these are very, very important so that you can really figure out what you're going to charge for something. And if you're doing custom work, it's key to keep track of these things. Then you're going to do a completed dress design. So finish sewing it all up and finish it up. Make sure you finish hems and insides and all of that. Now, in the assignment for the finished dress, I'm just requiring a front and a back picture of the dress all done. I want them to be clear, well lit so I can see. But there is also a requirement of about 5 pictures you take throughout the progress of you sewing your dress. So you pick which 5 you want to do. Certainly you can take more. Minimum is including 5 photographs of your progression of what you're doing. When you go into the assignment, if you want to upload those pictures, and you could just save the assignment instead of click submit, that way it'll save what you keep adding, but when you click submit, that's when it turns it in and notifies me that, or you show up on a report that your work is done, and then I know to go review it and things. But if you're running into any snags or problems while you're putting your dress design together, sewing it together, please don't hesitate in contacting me. If it's something that would work best for me to see what you're dealing with, we can use our iPads and FaceTime each other so you can point out where you're struggling or what's not working, and through that hopefully I can tell what's going on and give you some feedback, get you moving again, because that is due on Saturday. Now, I will let you get the dress done so that come Sunday you can have a final illustration of the dress design. It's kind of nice to work with it from a dress form to kind of see how it is draping and hanging and fitting. And then you do have a final exam. I know the last 2 weeks we have not had a quiz, but you have had some chapter reading and question assignments, the review questions. And so the main focus on the final exam is questions from those 2 chapters, and another part will be a written essay in the final that describes your experience with making your dress. All right, you're focusing on one item. But as a designer, and you're having to do all the production steps of it, everything from being the pattern maker to the sewer, the sample maker, the sewer, the planner, the assistant designer who figures out all the costing and all of this stuff. You're doing all parts, but you need to know all parts because you need to know what you would be expected to do if you took any one of those jobs, as well as if you are the designer, you need to know what to expect from somebody in one of those jobs. And this gives you a good idea of what goes on to get a design made for every single garment in a line. And this is getting you closer to being prepared to do your collection at the end of this program. It's one of the last classes you do in the fashion design program, where you're going to do this for 3 garments, not just the one. But this will walk you through those steps. Now to move on here. Your supplies that you will need, you'll of course need your art supplies for the illustration of the dress. Correcting your patterns, you may need to have some more paper on hand to add to, tape to, make any alterations to your patterns. You will need your fashion fabric or fabrics if you're doing more than one for completing your dress design. And then your sewing supplies to get it done, and the notions like buttons or zippers or shoulder pads, trim if you're putting that on the dress, anything like that that you're intending to include, you'll need those. Make sure you keep your receipt on that so you can complete your job cost form. And then one last thing I kind of want to leave you with is to never forget to continue to keep advancing your sewing skills. I've been sewing for over 20 plus years, and I still am learning new things, new ways to do things that actually are a little better or a little easier than maybe the way I've been struggling with. And here's some suggestions of resources. The books here pictured, the Couture, The Art of Fine Sewing, is one actually I have on hand on my shelf at home. It's a wonderful book. It shows you some beautiful garments, as well as I'm sure any of these other books do too. Shows the beautiful garments and then takes the garments, turns them inside out, and shows you some up close and step-by-step techniques for doing what they've done in these garments. And I love to challenge myself by trying out these different techniques. Continue to always challenge yourself. Always continue to seeking information, knowledge, and resources. Threads magazine is another great resource. You can buy that at the fabric store. It comes out every 2 months, or you can get a subscription. It's much cheaper to get a subscription because they're about $7 a magazine. And then they come right to your door. And I saved every one of mine. I have them. And then also trying more advanced sewing patterns from your local sewing store. They're great to work with. The pattern work's already done, so you can focus on trying out new techniques, more advanced ones. So look for the advanced levels or the designer level ones. They will challenge you. But I just like to leave you all with those thoughts. They're wonderful things to keep doing. I find it very soothing and enjoying when I have some assistance to kind of work with or an objective to try and take on. But thank you for listening this week. If you've got questions, please reach out to me at nmoamigo@clarysagecollege.com. Text me at 918-704-4525, and definitely we can use that FaceTime on our iPads if you've got questions about anything. Well, that's it for today. Thank you, and enjoy your spring.